Serious, what's extremely offensive in your country that tourists might not know about beforehand? Thailand. Don't touch people on their heads. It is the highest point of the body, so therefore it's the most respectful part. Also, never point your feet at a Buddha statue. It's considered very rude. Also, if you step on money, you'll be thrown in jail. It has the king's face on it, and disrespecting him in any way, like stepping on his image or saying you hate him, will get you a one-way ticket to a not very nice prison. UK. Don't try to antagonize the Queen's Guards. They're not decoration, they're serving soldiers. Have a good gawp but leave them be. Brazil. Here. The okay thing Americans do with their hands means frick you shove it up your butt. So don't do it. Ronald Reagan committed the same mistake. When I lived in the Middle East, showing the bottom of your feet, like when your legs are crossed, was offensive. Saw expats do it all the time though. Which ties into how throwing your shoes at someone is such an insult in the Middle East. The foot is the lowest part of your body, and you're throwing something that spends most of its time touching your feet. German. Here. Doing the Hitler greeting, saying Heil Hitler, and the swastika are illegal here. It's very obviously very inappropriate to visit Germany and pose with your right arm raised for photos, especially when visiting a historically or culturally important place, and yet tourists keep getting into trouble because of this. Don't tell them. It's funny. I live in Berlin and regularly see Brits and Americans get fined around the Parliament building, Checkpoint Charlie or other such places. Schadenfreude is best fruit. In the UK, talking loudly on the phone in either the tube, underground, or on a national rail service is seen as bad manners. Nobody wants to hear your conversation, so we all pray the signal cuts out or the train enters a tunnel. Costa Rica. Do not, I repeat, do not slam on people's car doors, especially taxis. Try to be gentle when getting in and out. I wouldn't call it extremely offensive, but people will definitely give you the stink eye for that. Some rude taxi drivers could even give you a bad time. In addition, do not make any kind of positive reference to Nicaragua, like at all. Even neutral statements about Nicaragua incites a crap storm. The V for victory, or 2. Sign where the palm is facing towards you, so the back of the hand is facing everyone else. That's pretty offensive in Britain. Swedes have a huge sphere of personal space. If you're American, and you're talking to me, you are standing way too close to me. Shields up. Everything I read about Swedish personal space has me believing that the ideal distance is me calling from the US. Canada. Here. It's not offensive, but very annoying when people raise a fuss about not being able to pay in US currency, or if stores do accept it, they accept it at par. Stores are not banks, and you are in another country. You have no idea how often I had to deal with this working at a gas station near a campground like 200 miles north of the border. I'm a truck driver and I'm in Canada a fair bit. I try and use cards to pay so I don't end up with mixed currency, but every once in a while I'll forget where I am and pull out cash to pay. I generally only realize what I've done when I get Canadian change back and the cashier apologizes for not having American and I apologize for not having Canadian. Ireland. If you're in a pub at a bar, do not order a black and tan or an Irish car bomb. The former was the common name for the Royal Irish Constabulary Special reserved during the Irish War of Independence. They're infamous for their violent and extreme treatments towards the Irish people. Order a half and half instead. The latter is because we don't want to be associated with terrorists and people tend to make a mess drinking them. There are a few places where it is okay to order these, but they're more of an exception rather than the rule. I thought it was just called a black and tan because of the color of the drink. Didn't even know it had Irish connotations. The Netherlands. Lots of tourists think we can smoke weed everywhere we want. This is not the case. You can only smoke it in the coffee shops or at home. So don't smoke on the street. I lived in The Hague for a while, and I saw tons and tons of Dutch people, at least Dutch speaking people, smoking on the streets. I also saw that commonly in other cities like Groningen. The whole don't smoke on the streets thing always seemed to me to be a rule. People from Amsterdam who have to deal with tourists are more quick to cite. My family is Middle Eastern, but I see this as an entree in Mediterranean people in general as well. Eat the food we offer you. All of it. Eat the seconds the matriarch of the house is putting on your plate. Eat the fruit they give you. Drink the tea. Eat more. Eat it all. If you refuse more food, the matriarch will assume you are lying and either hate the food or lying because you're shy. And if you annoy the matriarch of the household, everyone in the family is obligated to take her side, even if they don't really give a crap. So if you are ever visiting an Arab or Italian or Greek family, be as hungry as possible. US. Dear Asian and a very small selection of European tourists, do not approach me and ask if you can touch my hair. And, no, you cannot take a picture of you and your friends touching my hair. What the heck is the matter with you? Thanks, a black guy. Too funny. I went on a trip to Japan last summer and a lady, very shyly, asked if she could touch my hair. I don't even have super curly hair. It's just wavy. I'm currently studying abroad in Senegal. My second or third night with my host family. My host dad got legitimately offended that I didn't personally greet and shake hands with everyone in the home when I got home from school. It's common courtesy to do that here, apparently, but I never would have guessed it. Well, in Turkey my suggestion is that tourists should avoid hand gestures, especially the one about stealing somebody's nose. Like kids, the very same gesture means something like frick off and people will not understand or try to listen your explanation. Also, asking if we are Arabs or riding camels etc. will offend a lot of people and not the best way to communicate if you require some sort help or advice from them. The stealing nose gesture also means that in Russia, Germany, there are some parts of the autobahn with no speed limit, but mostly there is a speed limit on the German highways. USA here. Couple things. Unless you are at a flea market, garage sale, car dealership, or coupon matching, we don't haggle with prices. What you see is what you get. Indians and certain Middle Eastern countries don't get this and will try and haggle over a person target. It makes the sales associate uncomfortable and no, the manager cannot haggle either. South Koreans, while we respect our grandparents, they cannot elbow their way to the front of the line, insult our youth, or demand our seat on the bus or in a restaurant. Please tell your grandparents that it is not acceptable to be a bully even in old age. American here. If you go to a state or national park, especially Yellowstone, and you see signs saying no smoking outside of vehicles, take them seriously. When we have droughts, smoking can be a serious hazard for the parks. Sometimes it only takes a slight cinder to set off a fire, and once started, fires in the western US become absolutely huge. If the park tells you to only smoke in your car, that means with the windows up. 2. About 1/3 of Yellowstone Park burned about 15 years ago. If you come into the park from the east entrance, there are thousands of acres of burned trees. Mexico here. We get this a lot with spring breakers. More people in Mexico speak English than most tourists realize. When you go on your Fox News CNN spiel on the state of affairs in our country, make comments or jokes about the narcos, getting kidnapped, mugged etc., or poke fun at Mexican stereotypes, more people than you think can understand you, and it makes you look like an butt. I noticed this when I visited, though not as a spring breaker. Everyone I interacted with was very pleasant and most would make an effort to use English, if they knew any. I would feel like an butt if I didn't try to use Spanish where I could, which actually wound up being a good bit. Being immersed in it, it kind of surprised me how much I actually remembered. The knocking tune aka shave and a haircut, 2 bits, is an offensive tune in Mexico and some other places in Latin America. Iceland. Not much is considered extremely offensive, but blowing your nose will get you some side eye. Be like the locals and just hawk it back down to where it came from. Hungary. Please try to start the conversation other than the hungry joke. Every English speaking Hungarian has heard it a million times. It's not offensive. We're just really tired of it. At a pub in the UK there is a precise queue. It might not look like it, but the barman or lady knows exactly what order to serve people in, based upon when they arrived at the bar. You will not be served quicker by trying to catch their attention or fluttering money. That will actually move you to the back of the unknown queue. However, they may serve a local before you. That is their prerogative and you should not kick up a fuss. Maybe old Derek has seen some crap, or maybe he once saved the bar from robbery. Either way, it's their choice. NB. This rule does not apply so much in bars and certainly not in clubs where the traditional girls with cleavage amendment applies. I don't think the US really has the pub and bar distinction. Where I live certainly doesn't anyway. It's basically just bars. Canadian here. Don't feed the wild animals. No matter how cute that seal looks, don't feed it because you're changing its natural behavior, and that can mean an untimely death. Also, that moose calf is ugly cute, but its mom will stomp your head in if you get too close. If you see a bear, stay far away from it. If you're hiking, please stay on the trail. And for the love of God, if you go into the woods, please be prepared to spend the night because you stand a good chance of dying if you get lost. The word "see" is a lot more offensive in America than it is in Europe. It's pretty much domestic violence in a word here. I was visiting the US, and I distinctly remember all the kids giving me an awestruck look when I let an F-bomb slip. That and everyone shushing me when I asked why some dude was talking like a redneck. Had a lot of fun, but was amazed how different it was from what I expected. In France, hearing "praying for you" after hearing about someone having trouble is pretty much like hearing "I won't move a finger to help you in any way," but it would be rude to say it like that. We mostly are not very religious people. Clergy were seen as the accomplices of tyranny during the revolution and kept this image afterwards. And most people think that praying is a convenient way to not be helpful while pretending you do something. Australian here. If a sign says "beware of crocodiles, do not swim there" just because you can't see them, those suckers are sneaky and will eat you or your body parts. There are constant articles about dumb tourists taking their photos on top of croc catching cages or camping and swimming in waterholes that have warning signs around them. Australians live in a country where deadly animals are part of our everyday lives. There are snakes and spiders that'll kill you in the suburbs. Even the dumbest Australian won't go anywhere near somewhere that says "beware crocs." Don't know about country, but if you come to Washington DC and don't walk when standing on the left side of the escalators in the metro, woe be unto you. It's the same in London. It's not that strange. Some people are on the move. Now imagine if you just sat there in the left lane while driving. If you are in New York City, please note that the right side of an escalator is for standing and the left side is for walking. There will always be 2 lanes on each escalator, regardless of whether it's going up or down. If you stand in the middle of the escalator, you will be asked to move to the right to make way for people trying to walk it. If you don't move out of the way, I will climb over your inconsiderate butt. Same rules apply for walking on the sidewalk. This morning someone came to a dead stop in the middle of rush hour walking to take a picture of a building. A lady behind him bowled him over and kept going. I'm going to go against the other Aussie in this thread and say don't call people "see." It's still an offensive word here. Maybe not so much as in other countries, but it definitely is. I could count the number of times I've used it on one hand, okay, maybe 2. It's definitely a between friends thing. And even then it's nowhere near as common as we joke about it being. I had to tell my Middle Eastern classmate to stop snapping her fingers at people because it's considered very rude here in America. It took her a little while to get used to it, but bless her heart, I don't feel like her slave boy anymore. A Hong Konger here. Many of us really hate people treating Hong Kong as China. Some of us even loathe being addressed as a Chinese, though Hong Kong is being ruled, in some eyes, colonized by China. We have different lifestyle, local culture, language, political and law system than China. And for the foreigners who speak or are learning Mandarin Putonghua, though we appreciate the effort you try to speak in one of the spoken Chinese languages, Cantonese is the mother tongue of most of us. Though many of us understand Mandarin, I'd say you're better off speaking English instead. In Canada, not holding the door open for others is considered rude, as well as if you hold the door open for someone who is still far away from the door, thus pressuring them to increase their pace so they don't make you wait. Some of our greatest minds have spent long hours determining what is the minimum distance required to be considered far enough to not hold the door open, and they concluded that the other person should be at least 1 hockey stick length, or about 3 beaver lengths, away. I don't know if anyone else cares, but I find it incredibly rude when people don't say thank you after I hold the door for them. I went out of my way to waste my time keeping a door open for you, and you can't show any appreciation. You see, next time I'll slam the door in your face and break your nose. Butthole. In Brazil, if you are going to eat, it is considered very unpolite if you don't offer some of your food to the person you are talking to. If you go to a restaurant, everybody at the table asks if people want a bite before starting eating. Even if you just have one chewing gum and it's the first time you met that person, you must offer it, unless you want to come off rude. To be fair, everyone understands that this is a social stigma, so most people just say no, thanks, because the other person may not want to really split their food. But sometimes, when it is a very close friend's family, they may take you as unpolite if you do not accept the food. It is complicated because sometimes you don't know if you should accept or decline. It is very common to eat a whole meal while you're not hungry just to please your hosts. Sometimes you just offer food to the person standing next to you, even though you've never met and probably never will. But to be fair, curse words and calling names is pretty common and no one will be insulted by this. You can call your teacher a clever mother and he will laugh it off. I was in MG for about a month last year. Never saw the food thing anywhere. Same with declining food. The swearing thing is hilarious though. I am still in all over it. If you go to the UK, for the love of all that is holy, don't call the whole thing England. A Welshman will be irritated, a Scot will probably punch you, and if you say it to an Irishman, you're fricked. Especially if that's a pro-Republican Irishman. Bad idea all around. In the United States, it's considered very rude not to tip your waiter waitress if you eat at a restaurant with wait service. 15% minus 20% is the standard amount, although you can tip less for poor service or more if the service was exceptionally good. Saying frick. Seriously, I've had a Japanese student staying with us say that's freaking weird in public loudly. In Japanese there is no equivalent to the word frick, so many people just take it to mean an extremely intense version of very. For example, my brother when he was in Japan saw a banner outside a shopping center that read freaking huge sale because they wanted to express that they were having a very huge sale. The fact that it's trendy to speak English in Japan mixed with people not always understanding what they're saying can lead to interesting results. If I saw a sign for freaking huge sale, I'd be like, fuck, I gotta check this sale out. In Mexico, it's considered very rude to jump inside an ongoing archaeological excavation near some ruins and start digging for souvenirs with your tripod. You will get your butt beat by the Indian locals. I'm looking at you, Chinese. In Serbia, it's offensive to socialize with people you don't know in bars, cafes and such. On the other hand, if you are a foreigner, it wouldn't be as bad as if it would be if you are a local, but you are still considered annoying. We are very conservative when it comes to our personal space and day and nighttime company. How do you make friends then, lol? Not extremely offensive, but in Lithuania we generally don't send food back to the kitchen if it's undercooked or overcooked, unless the restaurant is high-end or you're feeling ballsy. Maybe it's part of the Soviet mentality of taking what you get and being happy about it. Canadian here. We line up for a reason. You belong at the back of the line. People joining the line belong behind you. If someone holds a door open for you, say thank you. If you bump into someone or otherwise do something impolite, apologize. It's okay, we won't sue you. Canadian here. Calling the Inuit, Inuvialuit, or any of the other far north Aboriginal nations, Eskimos is seen as really ignorant and offensive, if not downright racist. It means eater of raw meat and was a name given to them by non-Inuit people. Also, calling Aboriginals Indians is frowned upon too. In America, in restaurants that don't have a wait service, like fast food restaurants and coffee shops, you are responsible for your garbage. I work at a donut shop. 90% of the time, the people that leave use napkins, empty bags, and half-eaten donuts on the tables are foreign. We will clean up crumbs and messes, but if you leave your garbage on the table, you are basically littering. This isn't offensive, but just more of an annoyance. If you're coming to Ireland, for the love of God, please don't tell us my father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate is from Kildare. We've heard it a million times, and although you mean well, It doesn't make you any more Irish than when we first met you. In the southern USA, if someone says bless your heart to you, you've probably done something stupid. It's not a sweet saying. They are calling you retarded. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.